It was a lot bigger than what we originally thought it would be.
I regard them as my families.
As a mom, if I lost one of my kids, I don't know how much I would have left in me for the kid that's remaining.
Nobody can prepare for an incident of this scale.
It was eye-opening to know what nature's truly capable of.
And when the images started coming through in the morning, when I just switched on, I automatically just started, thinking, okay, this is now a 7.6 or 7.8 magnitude earthquake. It hit these areas. Let's see, now it's still the early days or so, but it was always in the back of my mind. Dr. Imtiaz's intuition is always, he said, Ahmed, look, this is going to be a big one. Let's put the teams on standby and let's start our preparations already, And basically around 10 o'clock, I've put out the message to our core search and rescue team, and I just wanted to know who's available already. And at 11:45, we made the decision that Gift of the Givers is going to be responding to Turkey, and then we started doing all the logistical arrangements or so.
In fact, it was quite ironic because myself and Ahmed were at the waterfront on Sunday, having just a meet and greet, and then on Monday morning he calls me to say, he needs people to go to Turkey. There'd been an earthquake. I was not watching the news, so this was a surprise to me. So obviously I said to him, look, we are available, and he must just say how many people he needs from the institution. I will gladly assist with manpower. So we got 4 of our guys, including myself, to go to Turkey. And obviously I think there's mixed emotions. There's that sense of, you want to help people, and at the same time, you think to yourself, well, this is an unstable area, and there is that possibility, obviously, that you may not come back. So I would say there's definitely those mixed emotions that come into play.
It was my first deployment, and normally you have time to pack and figure out, I'm going to need this, I'm not going to need that. Yeah, it was just like, you're on the plane tonight, you need to go. By the time we were on the plane, we were basically, your mindset was, we're going there to work. That's what we do.
As Gift of the Givers, we've built that kind of capacity. Other international teams, or other teams rather, I'd say, whether it's government or non-governmental organizations, will either respond in terms of only humanitarian aid, only search and rescue, or only medical. But Gift of the Givers have built a capacity over the years where I can proudly say, I don't know if any other organization or country team that responds from an A to a Z service.
You're so eager to get onto the ground and start working and start to set up base camp, and I think that also adds a bit of pressure and almost a time deadline for us that we're really trying to race against, because time equals life.
Yeah, so I think the initial delay was quite frustrating. We drove from Durban to get to Joburg in time to make our flight. So we kind of did low flying to get to Joburg, and then there was a bit of a delay at Joburg, and then we had to back and forth, and the frustration was just building. We literally just wanted to get on the ground and start working. And when we got to Istanbul and there was a big hurry up and wait, it was definitely a bit of frustration. We just wanted to start get work going, and we were quite amped to get it going.
I think it would be in any scenario where you have that red tape, it is a bit frustrating. because you want to get there, you know you can bring relief or you can still rescue people, especially in a time-sensitive rescue like Turkey. You know, every hour delayed is somebody that we could have helped or could have assisted. But at the airport itself, it was just accepting that, you know, all the teams are coming in from different locations. We need to sort of just find our footing, understand where we fit in with the government organizations, what their arrangements are, and making sure that all the kits got through and nothing was damaged.
When Team 1 went, and I know I'd follow 24 hours after that, it would be also nice for the team leaders to have experienced the obstacles. But that's disasters. You're going to get obstacles. Think about it. Everyone wants to leave disaster zones. You're going into a disaster zone. So you're going to have logistics in terms of communications, where you're going to be staying, you know, infrastructure, all of that. So those challenges are going to exist.
So by the time we get to the airport, I was tired of sleeping. I wanted to go and work. And I didn't know where we were going and how far was it. But I keep on asking my partner, where are we going exactly? How far from here? He keep on explaining. From here, we're still gonna take a plane for 2 hours to the other side. From there, we're still gonna take the bus to go to the where the disaster is. So, okay, I thought, no, we'll get there. So we even estimate by the time, saying, by 12 o'clock, we'll be there. So by 12 o'clock passed, we were sitting at the airport waiting for the plane and our staff there. So there was nothing to do. We didn't have a choice.
Always in my mind, aware of the time-sensitive nature of this whole thing, because you just got to imagine what it must be like to be stuck under a building with no food, no water. You're cold, you're hungry, and every minute, every hour, you know, that you're there, like, the chance of living is less and less and less. Turkish Airlines arranged a special flight for the search and rescue teams to make that happen. And if you remember on that flight, there was that whole team from China that was with us. And they arranged that to get us there. And like I say, that kept the momentum going, and it just kept that quick response like going nicely. And that was amazing. So I was very happy about that.
We're thankful that we have our Gift of the Givers offices in Turkey, and we've got that relationship. So with Dr. Malik being our regional coordinator in the region, and Antakya, also a place that I've traveled before as well. It's good to have the country support, you know, on the one side, but it makes it much more easier on the team leader.
The traffic jam was, should I say, unexpected in a way. I do understand, I knew there were going to be, or I could imagine that there was going to be a lot of equipment being moved to that area. The scale of it and the scale of heavy machinery and equipment that was being moved, I think sort of overwhelmed the road. A long bus trip for a trip which should take about an hour and a half took us 10 hours, but it's expected in those situations.
There was a lot of frustration on the way there because now we're stuck in traffic for like, at the time, I mean, we didn't know it was going to take us 8 hours, and we're talking from Adana to Antakya, it's not even 200 kilometers, and yet it took us 8 hours. In fact, myself and a colleague of mine literally got out of the bus. We walked for, must have been at least 3 kilometers down the road, just to, I think, for our peace of mind, because it was just ridiculous, just moving at a snail's pace.
That 150-kilometer traffic jam was, you know, something I've never seen before in my life. It was so, you know, mind-blowing.
To be honest, while we were traveling in the bus, you could sort of see a few dilapidated buildings, and you get a small idea of the scale of destruction, but it was only really once we got to the epicenter and daylight broke that we really were taken back. Essentially, you would stand in one fixed point and turn 360 degrees, and all you can see is complete devastation.
Seeing the first buildings that were compromised was quite scary, to be honest, because you're not even at the earthquake zone, and here you are seeing all these buildings that have been severely compromised. Some have actually fallen, and we're about more than 100 kilometers away from the epicenter of the earthquake. So that was quite, you realize that, this is real now. So, and there's no turning back at this point.
As soon as we got into Antakya, it was just immense. Just the damage to the buildings and everything, the whole city that is totally condemned. I mean, not one building there will ever be occupied again. And I think that was the biggest realization or eye-opener as to know, to actually realize that this is, where we're going to work, and the devastation must be unimaginable, and understanding also what the team is going to face.
When I saw the first building, I was touched. Then I said, God, please, you are our savior. May you please save the lives of your poor people. Give us strength to go in there to search for the life or the bodies, so that the families can have closure.
This is going to be a tough day at the office, And but that's like I say. I mean, the mindset of all of us had all five of us were, what we've been called out to work, and we just want to get there and do our best. Give those people our best. Because the more bodies you find, more people alive you find, you're giving closure to families and stuff like that.
The air around those sites and around that town was just one of absolute sadness and devastation. There was so much loss, so much death, so much hurt and anguish, and it was thick in the air, and you could feel it, So it was really such a surreal, terrible experience, and it broke my heart. My heart was broken for those people.
But getting to Antakya itself and being made aware at face value, the devastation, the mass loss of life, that eerie feeling in the air where there's a sense of urgent need for assistance, but so much loss and trauma experienced by the people.
To see those high-rise buildings condensed into pancake collapses where it's only the height of a 2-story building and previously was either 7-story or 8-story. It really, and to see multiple buildings next door to each other like that, you really get a sense of what's happened and how quickly it happened.
In my mind, I thought, it's like something like Joburg Central or Durban Central that collapsed. But once we took the drive, and it was hours and hours of driving, and as far as you can see, it's just complete destruction. You started to understand the scale of it and the magnitude of the exercise that you're about to undertake.
We got the word now that we're going to deploy and we're going to begin operations. And then that was, I think that lifted everyone's spirits, because it then also gave the sense of this is what we came here to do. And we had done, like I said, so well. We had kept this momentum of trying to get to the sites, get working early on, and then we were able to do that on the Friday morning.
When you work on that scenario, you need to tell yourself that I need to be strong. You also have to counsel yourself individually without waiting for someone to say, no, let's go and have a debriefing or what. But you have to soldier on. And not only you alone, but with your partners, meaning the team.
When I saw us there with the dogs, everybody wanted your help. It's like, can you please come and help us over here? Can you please come and help? And unfortunately, you can't get to everybody. And it's difficult. I think as a human being, it's difficult, and doing what we do, it's difficult to not get to help everybody. You know, so you falling. I mean, as you know, we work with the Oman team most of the time, and they literally decide, okay, right, we're working here and we're working over there. We can't help you. We're going to help you. That type of thing. That's difficult. And I mean, you look at those people and they're basically pleading.
And we realize the importance of the dogs, you know. So that also gave the team a real morale booster, because now we had more life detecting, I wouldn't say equipment, but life detecting skills.
I think you would see a building that is collapsed, are partially collapsed. And I just remember, in fact, the very first day that we were on the ground, that was a Friday. Just that smell, you know, of you could smell dead bodies underneath the rubble as we were standing. And, you know, obviously for health and safety reasons, you have to wear, you know, N95 mask. And in these situations as well, it's a bit nice to put some Vicks, just to kind of, I would say, numb the smell, if I can put it that way.
The level of destruction and devastation was just so extreme. Then what was very hard was, when we were working on the site, was all the family members in the local community coming there, now waiting. So on the outskirts of the site, and even in the site, there's people now, you know, waiting to see what's going to happen. And then some of them would come and they would share their stories with us, and they would tell us what was going on. And, you know, they were getting very emotional. And like, obviously, like one lady told us she couldn't speak English, but she was able to get across that 5 of her family members was in this collapse pile. And her daughter, who was pregnant, was in there, you know, and she was completely shattered, you know. So like we held her and like spent time with her just to give her presents and try and, you know, just give her some kind of support. And so that, like, it makes you sad, you know, to see someone who's lost so much and just holding on to hope that something's going to happen, that they might find one of their family members there.
Yeah, you know, it was tough. Imagine the building, which is more than 10 floors upwards. When it collapsed, somewhere we've been told that there was more than 50 people here inside.
So visiting a scene where you recover these people, and you got to accept in the circumstances that they unfortunately passed away, it's not pretty. You got to respect the victims as well as the family members, and conduct yourself in a way that you, especially when it's as emotionally charged as some of those scenes were, you got to keep your calm, because any way that you kind of react could worsen or trigger emotions. And again, just bringing the person out from the rubble and being able to hand them over to a family member, and it is a relief, but you feel sad for them.
When we pull out the person who passed away, to me it was something which I think I was just going to give someone a closure. But by the time we started to hand it over and wanted someone to come and identify, that's where I started to feel the pain of what's happening here. Sometimes I even feel like crying when those people cry. Even myself, I wanted to cry, but I didn't want to show them that I'm not strong. I have to take it as if I'm strong, I'm helping, I'm giving them the closure. So that's where it was just giving me a strength to work.
There was like almost these moments that seemed like a movie cliche, where in the collapse pile there would be a child's teddy bear. But here it was, you know, you'd find all these people's belongings, like shoes, clothes, you know, and it puts in your mind that you know, here you've got this pile of twisted metal and broken concrete, but you know, this was someone's bedroom, and this was a family sleeping. And like I say, you see these little shoes, and these were kids that were in here, and now they are under this pile. And you know, it's now days after the earthquake has struck, and so you know, you get a bit pessimistic, thinking that their chance of survival is fairly low. You always need to be optimistic that you are going to try your best to, you know, find survivors and get them out.
Our teams identified close to 2,000 bodies.
There was a mother with her 2 grown daughters, and they were looking for family members left in their family that had collapsed in the 9-story building that we were busy with. Sorry. And one of the rescuers on site, he was assisting with the recoveries of a few bodies. And the last body that we had recovered, when we had brought the body down from the excavator to open the body back to show the family members so that they could identify if it was indeed one of their family members or not. It was about a, I think, 11, 12-year-old boy, and it was the rescuer's son. And I think for me, that is one of the moments that hit hard was, how do you put yourself out there to assist on a scene, to give you everything to try and recover as much as you possibly can, but knowing that your family is underneath this rubble as well. And I think that selflessness in a moment of knowing that your family has possibly died, possibly deceased, and not knowing how you're going to recover, what you're going to see, what you're exposing yourself to. And he was there doing the work until he found his own son. And seeing that hurt, that devastation, that immense disbelief in seeing your son over there, and he was the one that found his son, was, I think, not something that will leave me very easily, because I'm not sure if I would ever have been able to be that courageous, that selfless, that giving when you know you've most likely lost everything, which was in his case, the case he lost his wife and his son. Yeah, I can't put into words the feelings and the thoughts left behind witnessing that and how to process it. I don't think one can. All I can say is the character of the people. I think that example and that I've witnessed speaks for itself. It's not easy, and I don't think a lot of people are able to do that in such a situation.
One of the scenes that kind of you got time because it wasn't so busy was the one that you referred to now earlier on, where we had that mother outside with Michaela being the team leader, where we recovered the family members, but just the eeriness of and that scene was silent. It was quiet. We didn't have the commotion and the noise and everything else that was going on the other scenes.
We couldn't do a full excavation with the machinery that we were using, so rescuers would have to take turns removing rubble carefully so we could try and keep that body intact. The next step was to also start briefing the family, which was hard. It was a mum and a daughter and a sister that have been waiting over 7 days to retrieve that body. The mother of that family was indeed a nurse. And when we explained to her what was going on, her words, she can't speak much English, but what she did say is, "I'm a nurse, I'm strong." And that was phenomenal.
And in that same area that we found, the rescue that found his son, it was the mother with her 2 daughters. And the mother had lost her son and some grandchildren in the earthquake and in the building that had collapsed. And all she did was she turned to her daughter, knowing that she's already bearing kids. And she looked at the daughter and she said, "They are gone, but I've got you. Please don't let me lose you as well." And I thought to myself, wow. As a mom, I feel like, and until you experience it, I guess you can't really understand how you would cope in such a moment. But for me, I just felt as a mom, if I lost one of my kids, I don't know how much I would have left in me for the kid that's remaining. And this mother was so strong and so focused on making sure that her daughter, it's the only thing that she has left, and begged her to just be okay and breathe and just hang on for her. I think that, again, just the willpower of the Turkish woman and the people, their courageous behavior in a moment like she's just experienced such selfless, such loss, such trauma, yet she was so focused on not letting that part take over and focusing on what she has in front of her. And I think that, again, is not something that's easy to do, and she done it effortlessly. I was the one on the side, broken, I couldn't speak, but she was determined to make sure that her daughter in front of her was okay. And I think that's, again, like I said, I can't fathom it if I was in her shoes. I honestly don't think I could have been that strong and just that focused on what she had in front of her.
When we came out of this, there was this one apartment block with 250 apartments and 1,000 people confirmed dead in that apartment block. And old Mr. Chetty and myself, as we climbed through this one void, we came up, and as I looked up, there was like a palisade fencing, and behind the fence there was a man, an older woman and a younger woman, and she was just weeping. She was really just weeping. Her face was covered in dust. You could just see the tear lines running through the dust on her face. And as I looked up, her eyes just penetrated my soul. And she just looked at me, and I was like, instantly I just got tears in my eyes. I still turned to Chetty, I said to him, just don't look up. He's like, at what? And he turned around, he looked at her, and he looked back to me, and he says, I felt that. You know, so it's like you could feel the grief, you could feel the hurt, but even through all of that, there was a language barrier. So all of them just like tapped their chest and just said thank you to us. And as I came out, that's all she did, and that to me is like definitely stands out.
When I was assisting with one of the retrievals, as a Muslim female, one of the females that we had retrieved, there was no family for this couple that we had found on site. So when we had retrieved the body, I was taken aback largely by the fact that the woman, she was found in sujood. And just thinking about what she must have gone through to have gotten herself in the position to pray. And apart from the fear, but knowing that ultimately our Maker is the one that decides, you know, where to from here. But seeing someone in that position and just trying to place myself in what must have gone through her mind, what she was trying to feel in that moment, but also just how beautiful and blessed she was to be able to have gotten to sujood. And I think that was also hard for me in the sense that I couldn't share in the sight of such loss, but something so beautiful for her family to have known. And I think that retrieval specifically also will not leave me.
Paul and I went into the one building with one of the SAP's K9, and they dug it open into the basement, and we climbed into the basement searching. So we were crawling around on our stomachs, and one of these tremors hit, and it was just dust falling down. And you know, I just remember Paul and I sitting there, and we just like kind of giggled at each other, like, you know. And it was like at that moment, you know, there's nothing that you can do. You know, there's nowhere you can go. So there's definitely an adrenaline rush of note. At that moment, you don't think of your family back home. You don't think of anything else besides what's actually going on there at that moment.
The tremor that we had in the building was very scary. I'll be honest, because also when the tremor starts, you don't know how severe the tremor is going to be. So I mean, the best you can do is try and get out of there as quickly as possible. So I mean, and you don't know really if you're going to make it or not. So it really is quite a scary situation, one that you hope, you know, you're going to come out of it alive.
I've been working with him for 7 years now. I've had him since he was a puppy, and so our bond is pretty strong. So when a tremor happens while you're busy working in those conditions, and I turn around, give him the command to come with me, then he's by my side. You know, so we'll get to safety and then wait for the tremor to pass and then go back and start over again. Yeah, we're always concerned about their safety and injuries to the dogs, because we can't do our job without these guys. You know, without our canine partners, we are just another person.
Yeah, we had one scene where it was the flats at the front were fine, and then it was like 3 rows of flats, and one of the flats in the middle collapsed. And you had to walk through a passage between these two 10-story buildings that's been compromised to get to the back. And we were busy planning to go in, because there was reports of people still being alive inside the building there. And we got the tools and everything ready, and as we started working there, they brought in an excavator to clear some of the rubble. And just the movement of that machine within that confined space, and also the compromised buildings, anything, even just the wind blowing strong enough will tip that building over. And that's the biggest risk. And as a team, we had to make the call to move out. And we were sitting outside maybe for 5 minutes or so, and we felt a tremor coming through, and you could hear little pieces of brickwork falling behind you out of the building, and then we heard this huge noise, which could only have been another building that collapsed about 200-300 meters away from us. And the team jumped up and ran to the safest space, which was in an area where there were other collapsed buildings. But just a realization of there could have been a team inside the building or next to that building that now became trapped or even killed by that while they tried to rescue people.
We felt it's dangerous, but I was happy because we, as since well I said, we had safety officers on site. They when the time it started to hit, I was on the rebels. Then they blew the whistle. Then we all stopped and listened to it. Then after some seconds, then it was over. But where I was, I could see there was enough space for me to run. There was, an open area. Even our colleagues, they can go to that particular area. The building was not next to, it was a little bit far from us. We were safe actually, and also I believe other teams on the other side also, I know they were safe.
I think it's daunting because you don't really know what type of situation you're walking into, if there's going to be tremors. Obviously there's a lot of unstable buildings that, to be honest, there were so many, it even sort of blocks out the ability to mark off zones because just everywhere is unstable. So there's a large element of risk that's unavoidable. It's difficult. It's always hard because you feel like you're letting down a family in some aspects. However, to risk your team, particularly in this circumstance, risking team because of structural collapse. We had multiple unstable buildings on all sides of us at some points, and active tremors. We cannot afford to lose our whole team over somebody who's passed, and it's a hard reality to confront. But the dead are gone, but we still have a future, and you have to protect the future of not just the members of the team, but the local volunteers that assist their families, the remaining survivors. And it's really difficult to make a clinical decision based on that. It's difficult because it's natural for most of us to develop cognitive overload because of the amount of emotion attached to briefing those families and letting them know that they're not going to have that opportunity. And you knowingly robbing a family of that opportunity, but we have to be extremely clinical of our decision and strategic. It's unfortunately the hard part of our job, and our job is also to get our team home.
I've been involved in earthquakes that's very mild tremors, but this was a completely new experience to me. And it sort of put in perspective. If you then go and see the severity of these aftershocks is nothing compared to the initial earthquake that they had, and that puts it into perspective, yeah.
In this industry, we see death all the time, and unfortunately, you become very desensitized to death. So seeing death around, it's like seeing dead people, seeing bodies, as much as, like at that moment, it doesn't affect you. It definitely affects you later on. Later on, you have flashbacks and things like that. But at that moment, for me, seeing a dead body is not what gets to me. It's seeing the family standing next to the road with that hope. I mean, the building is completely collapsed. It's flat. There's nothing and nobody that could have survived there. But the family has that hope, and when you've got to pack up your gear and walk away, and you can see the hope fade out of them, that to me is the hard part.
I feel like I can cry, even though I don't know that people. And it was first time to see those kind of situation and the people who are crying.
Even the recovery of bodies does provide relief to the families. It's frustrating. Obviously, you go there to save lives, but you also got to remember that people need closure. They need to know whether their loved ones are still alive, trapped under rubble, or whether they are dead. So I wouldn't say really frustrating, but it would be nice to take out, to rescue and to take out live people. But you also got to remember that you do the small part that you do while you are there, and to the best of your ability. That's it.
The time when I'm sleeping in my tent, that's where I started to feel what's happening there. So, but I will feel as if I can cry, but I needed to do something so that I can just take that pain out. But there was nothing to do.
That morning we got to, because like I say, we were working with the Oman team, and they got information of and GPS coordinates of live victims still. And so we went out to the one place there, and then they took me to a building. We went up the street to the right, and the excavators and stuff was still hectic busy there. And then they said, no, they've got another one just on the opposite side of the road. And so we went there, and I utilised him. He indicated, and the next thing, everybody started blowing whistles and saying keep quiet and everything, and they banged with a pipe on the rebar, and then they got an answer back. They banged 3 times, and then they got a three answer back from under the rubble. So I was like, wow, okay, this is exciting. But then all the rescue teams from Turkey and Oman, so basically they flood the scene. Once they got her out, the people started cheering, and she literally came walking to the ambulance with her hands in the air like this. I'll never forget that. And then her son came and spoke to us. He told us that she's a 90-year-old lady, and she's actually got a heart problem. She's got a heart condition. So to me, that just says, you know what, it's not my time to go. Hanging on for help's coming, that type of thing. Yeah, it's a feeling of fulfillment and elation in a sense. I mean, it's 8 days later, you still finding somebody alive in all of that chaos, if you want to call it that. It was just amazing. I mean, you think to yourself, if I was trapped under something like that, how will I survive? 8 days. I mean, you got no food, no water. So it's just your mind telling you someone's coming to help me. That type of thing. You must have a damn strong mindset.
Yeah, it was just so much pride in our guys and Donna, our canine that made the find, and it just gives hope, particularly because the resilience of, you know, a 90-year-old woman in that condition, it means there must be more. So it really gave us a bit of motivation, a bit of joy. And yeah, I think it's incredibly motivating when that happens, because the reality for most of the victims is very, very dark.
With the conditions also, it was minus whatever 6 or 7 during that time, and someone to survive at that age, you know, finding an older person, if I put it, in the rubble at that age is amazing.
The day we saved a 90-year-old woman, I felt as if the search mission can continue, because we might still save life. There might still be people trapped underneath there whom need our assistance.
Just hearing that patient that came out, it was such a joyous occasion for the entire team. For me, it was like, how are these people ever going to rebuild? How are these people still so friendly? I mean, we came across the Turkish people, and they were friendly. They weren't rude. They weren't hostile towards you. They were accommodating. And when I just saw the destruction, I was just like, how can these people still be so friendly? How can these people still be, their spirits still be so high? So that for me was something that definitely stood out. I mean, we saw buildings that were just completely obliterated, families that have lost everything, including loved ones, but they were still accommodating and happy to see us.
Oh, they were just beautiful. They were absolutely amazing people. Their general being is so warm and so welcoming and kind. It's, you know, it was really phenomenal how they made personal effort to connect with us, to get to know us, to feed us. I don't think I've ever eaten so much on a deployment, which, you know, is rare. It's really rare and so humbling, and it reminds you to show gratitude and to be grateful for what you have and where you come from, and to also just show kindness. It was great. It was phenomenal.
The hospitality from the Turkish people was really amazing. So from the time when we landed on Friday on the epicenter, when we started working, I mean, we just saw people just offering us food all the time when we were on the ground. I mean, we are talking about people, there's no shops open, they themselves don't have any food, they don't know when the next plate of food is coming from. And here they were just dishing out food to rescue us. So I think it's just a real testament to their character.
The Turkish people are absolutely phenomenal, if I can say phenomenal. I mean, in events that led to us being there, I mean, those people, you're looking at people that's got absolutely nothing left, but they still make sure that you've got a bottle of water, your dog's got some water. Have you guys had something to eat? You know, they're so willing to take care of you first instead of you worrying about them. Very, very humble people, you know, so, but yeah, like I say, and I don't think I'll ever stop talking about the humility of the people there.
But the one thing that really does stand out is the gratitude of the Turkish people was just amazing. It kind of made you look back or be proud of what we as a country, South Africa, can be. And it makes you want to work towards that. Because we definitely still have it.
But the people, no matter where we were, Antakya, no matter in which ends of Antakya you were, the ability to give, having lost everything, the ability to make sure and ensure that you are okay, knowing that they've got nothing, they've lost everything, but just so grateful appreciative of your assistance. And just in everything they did, you just felt that compassion, that love, that care.
The driver who used to take us or take the rescue team around in the first few days, you remember he could only take the team during the day. And he said, look, I need to be back before evenings. And we'd ask him, but why do you need to be back in the evening? Sometimes the team needs to work, you know. And he didn't want to say his reason, but through our translators, his reason was what? That, you know, I'm actually lost everything. My house is destroyed. My children and who I left from my family sleeps in the truck at night.
You know, everywhere we went, we just received, you know, support and thanks and gratitude for coming to assist and coming to help. Even on the collapse sites, you know, people would come and bring us food and bring us water. And, you know, it was just amazing. Like the Turkish people, having just gone through this disaster, were still able to, you know, welcome us and help us and support us. So I was very, very touched by that. It was incredible.
The way that you could see, even with the devastation and everything that they had here, the way that they were trying to assist us to get the job done, that they were making us feel welcome, even though they've just been through this crisis, you know, and we're still living in this. The friendliness, the way that they, in a way I can almost say that they tried to comfort us, to make us comfortable and everything, was really, I can't say difficult to comprehend, but just, it was good to see, you know, people just leaving their day jobs in different parts of the countries, of the country of Turkey, just to come and assist and help us there with this effort.
The one youngster who sold his vehicle so he could buy tents and sleeping bags for us, because he heard the South African team, it's cold and we needed more tents, we needed some stuff, and he actually sold his own vehicle, traveled, hired another vehicle, traveled for 18 hours to bring us food.
So when we left, all the security personnel and the airport staff created a guard of honor for us. I think it was unexpected for everyone. We never expected them to do that, and it was quite touching to see how they appreciated the rescue teams that came through to assist the people of Turkey.
So amazing, the appreciation from these people. It literally brought a lump to my throat. And every single Turkish person that we walked past in that whole airport, everybody would stop, clap hands, and, you know, like gesture thank you. It meant so much. I mean, because a little word thank you sometimes doesn't mean a thing, but just in that essence, they really appreciated what we came and did for them. And I said, to me, that will be pretty close to my heart for a very long time as well.
The whole way we walked, from every corner, every restaurant, every shop, people were clapping and cheering, people were crying. They were just so grateful and so happy that, you know, we had come to help and do what we could do, you know. And it was very, very touching. But at the same time, it was also quite sad, because I still carry this feeling of I just wish we could have done more.
This thing is a calling on me, because a lot of people, they are thinking when I'm going out, I will come up with a lot of money. So I tell them, no, I'm just a volunteer for the gift, and also the volunteer of the South Africa, because I'm not getting paid by going out there. I'm just going there to help.
The police security with us was telling me they don't understand how Africa came so quick to come and assist them and where we located. We were there more quicker than their neighbors. You know, it's not a competition, but it's just, you know, for them, they appreciated that. Imagine you came all the way from Africa to come and help us in South Africa. So it was really good to see that appreciation.
When I got on the plane, I fell asleep, and then just you know, I just passed out. Like there was no decision where I'm like, I'm gonna have a nap. I just sat down in the chair and I passed out. And then I woke up and like, I just had this like flood of emotions, you know, because now I'm in a space where I no longer need to worry about anything. You know, it's safe, like there's nothing to think about. And then that's when everything kind of came through, you know, and like I cried for like 3 hours. And it was really like intense, because I think that was a point now, like I say, where I don't have this heightened level of situational awareness where I need to be in this red state of heightened awareness, constantly thinking. My mind can now come back down. I don't need to worry, you know. I'm safe in this plane. The whole team's here. The equipment's taken care of. You know, no one's going to get crushed or killed. And then that's when it all started to come through, you know. And then I started to like remember all moments, and you know, like one feeling that just really came through was just like, I felt so sorry and sad for all these people and all these communities, you know.
I think it was a very successful trip for us as canine handlers. We did very well, and I think we did it very professional. We've only had, since we got back, only had good things said to us. Thank you so much for uplifting the police, and thank you so much for what you guys did that side. You know, to me, like I said to me, it just means we did it right. You know, we went there, did our job, and we did it successfully.
When you sort of sit and reflect back on the whole mission, I think the gratitude of the Turkish people, it's a very humbling experience. It makes you, I think, as you know, Mr. Ahmed said on our debrief that evening in Istanbul in a hotel, we got to go and reflect on what happened, what we've just been through. And if this doesn't change you, nothing will change you. You're not the same person. I'm not the same person that came back.
From what I've taken back is the amazing expertise, capabilities of our teams and individuals. You know, our dogs were also amazing.
Who I am and what I value changed immediately. The essence of what I appreciate about life and what I want to transfer to my kids changed immensely. But more than anything, I think refocusing on doing good and being a good person is reflected regardless of what you are exposed to, and I think that's what the Turkish people shared with us.
For me, one of the things that got me going is appreciating what you have. I think going there, seeing people not having no food, no water, no shelter. I mean, if you think of Maxwell's hierarchy of needs, I mean, the basic physiological needs are right at the bottom, and those people didn't have that at all. And we knew that we would come home to our comfortable lives. So for me, really, it's just appreciating the small things that you have.
It was really just life-changing. It was life-changing. It was humbling, actually. I think that would be the word that would describe it best. It was absolutely humbling. It took us all down to rock bottom.
It was, for me, probably the hardest urban search and rescue that I've ever done, but in so many ways also the most rewarding.